and welcome to the Weird Warriors podcast. I'm Max.
I'm Rich.
Hey, and on this podcast, we focus on the Weird War Tales comic book series, which was published by DC Comics from 1971 to 1983. On this episode in particular, we're taking a look at Weird War Tales number 82, but first, Rich has a little something to say to you.
We've talked about challenge coins on this show a few times, those unofficial attaboys that military units hand out for jobs well done. I got one for my unit in May, and it features a beaver skull on one side. And I'm here to tell you, a beaver skull is objectively terrifying. There's a picture of the coin in the album. Look at that thing. Some horror artists should just put beaver skulls on demon bodies and call it a day. Jesus. And also, remember that band Swamp Thing Jesus story Max talked about in our Sergeant Rock NMEA special mission last year? It's out. Saw it on the shelf in the store. Comments, Max?
Yeah, I picked up my copy at the Outer Limits in Waltham this past weekend, and it is fantastic. It's not exactly what I would have expected, but in many ways better. It has a great multi-page commentary written by Steve Bissett afterwards that pulls some of the curtain of what was going on around that time back for us, even more so than I've heard from Rick Veitch lately, because I guess Rick's trying not to rock the boat too much. He's brokered this deal after all. But the comic book is fantastic. It really does continue the time travel storyline in a heck of a way. And all I'll spoil for you guys is it ties Jesus of Nazareth directly into the DC universe and into the origin of Swamp Thing himself and one other DC Comics character that has appeared in cartoons, is all I'll say. And maybe also I'll give you the hint that this character also appeared in Alan Moore's Swamp Thing in a big way. And now, according to this issue, in that old timeline, however you want to look at it, Jesus Christ is a part of their origin story. A big one, too. Yeah, they took some swings in that issue. So go out and get that and get the next three, because I'm getting these and I'm going to get the collection afterward. It's a heck of a piece of work. So there's my CNC on that, huh? Kind of liked it.
Intel report. The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, 19. Published by Marvel Comics in 1984. Script and pencils by Larry Lieber, inks by Jack Abel and Vince Coletta. High in the Himalayan mountains, the Imperial Japanese Army discovers an ancient dragon frozen in ice and plans to use it to launch a preemptive strike on the United States. Warned by a Japanese colleague that owed him a debt, Indiana Jones must try to stop the Japanese from succeeding and launching the coming war earlier than planned.
Yeah, I read that series. I was suckered in by the John Byrne covers at first, and and then discovered, I really like the interiors anyway. I think I rode that thing all the way to the end, and I don't remember a thing about it other than I enjoyed it. So you're reading that plot synopsis, and I'm like, I'm sure that happened. I'll have to reread that entire series, and I'll have to be on another back issue hunt.
Yeah, I hopped in about like 5 or 6 issues in, and I wrote it to the end, and then I did the backtrack, and I got all of them. I had them all at one point, and I got rid of I think probably about half of them. During a weeding of the collection, I heard Herb Trimpe sign an issue. So I got it's a fun book from the 80s. Come on, Indiana Jones. How can you not?
Yeah,
So,
it was well done. I liked it.
cover detail, art by George Evans. The mystery and madness is still yours for 40 cents. Weird War Tales is blue on white on an orange background. A red-haired woman in a revealing magenta dress holds 2 torches and sets an SS officer standing at attention aflame with one of them. From a foreground doorway, 4 other Nazis look on in horror, one of whom, sweating and grasping a Luger, kind of looks like the burning Nazi. A banner on the bottom of the cover reads, "Death by Hellfire." Cover date, December 1979. Date of release, September 11th. 1979, Old Comics Man, seen on eBay for anywhere between $6 and $144. That's kind of an interesting range. No Killjoy CNC. Because of the dark borders, your eyes go right to the yellows and oranges on the center of the cover. The woman has a sly smile and looks like she's having a great time. I think the sweat on the one Nazi's face is comically on the heavy side, but the look of horror on the two faces in profile isn't bad. Where does that perfect circle of yellow behind the burning Nazi come from? There a hidden spotlight somewhere? If you look at the woman's legs, it looks like she's prancing around the burning man. Part of a spell? Is she a witch? Gotta say, probably on both counts. That said, I just do not care for this cover. I expected better from Mr. Evans.
All right. So as far as that perfect circle of yellow, maybe it's a J.J. Abrams comic. Maybe it's a giant lens flare. Hey, even though he would have been a fetus, maybe when this came out. As for my actual opinions on this cover, the coloring does its job here and catches the eye. But to me, this cover feels more like a blown up interior panel than a real cover image. Losing the cartoonishly sweaty dude and the rest of the audience, including the guy who looks like he just came down to see the tree on Christmas morning, looks pretty happy, would have helped, I think. But this one is a miss for me, dog.
Introduction page, art by Romeo Tangal. A split scene page. On the top panel, two muscular cavemen battle with spiked clubs in front of a chain of mountains in a blood red sun. Pterodactyls fly overhead and brontosaurus lumber. On the bottom panel, Earth is a sea of flame. Mushroom clouds rise as waves of missiles fly at each other. Robed Death holds a scythe, breaking borders of both panels, and says,
When war began, it was a personal affair, man against man, for something important to both. Now, war is a matter of nations and missiles, cold, inhuman objects beyond mortal comprehension. But either way, only I am the winner, for I am death. And if you listen to me now, you may learn something of my myriad ways.
Killjoy! Dinosaurs and cavemen didn't exist at the same time. Duh. What is this? The cover of Weird War Tales number 36? Max.
Okay, CNC on my end here. Tangal nearly becomes an honorary Cubert sibling here. The stylistic bleed is pretty evident and it looks pretty good. The whole thing, visually, for me, is an absolute triumph. Rich's appraisal covers the nitty gritty pretty darn well coming up here, so I'll just talk about the vibes. This is perhaps accidentally one of the deepest and most concise presentations of the series' mission statement that we've ever gotten in an intro page. Humans are one of the weakest animals on planet Earth, but we are far and away the most destructive. It's almost like we're overcompensating for something. As for the evolution of the weaponry that drives our ever expanding conflicts, I'm reminded of one of the best songs in Armored Saint's recent discography, the tune Missile to Gun, the chorus of which traces our violent history back to the beginning of our times. In the chorus, missile to gun, gun to knife, knife to stone. It's a great tune with a pretty cool music video too, which I've provided a link to.
A then and now intro? Oh yeah. Full freaking props to Tangal for this one. Smoke billowing out of the volcanoes across a blood red sun, rippling muscles on the cavemen. Very good representations of the dinos. And wave upon endless wave of missiles flying at each other. Another blood red sun, smoke, flame, mushroom clouds. And Death is just standing there pointing at it like it's just another day at the office. A solid rebound from the cover. I like this a lot. As Thomas Hardy wrote in Christmas 1924, after 2,000 years of mass, we got as far as poison gas. We're freaking doomed, folks.
Hey, we both got musical on that. Okay, now that we've gotten past that really cool intro page, let's see how the first story turns out, huh? And by coincidence, it's the cover story. So maybe it can make up for the cover itself. Let's find out. It's called Funeral by Fire. It's 7 pages long, script by stalwart George Kashdan, art by favorite of yours and mine, Ruben Yandok. Synopsis for this tale goes a little something like this. Romania, Land of werewolves, vampires, and black magic. Colonel Conrad Bauer, commander of German occupation forces, has finally reached the end of a long search. A barn with 4 partisans who refuse to surrender. Rather than waste ammunition, he orders his men to throw torches onto the barn's roof. The men inside know who hunts them, and that Bauer is a butcher. Surrender equals torture. And so, they remain inside the burning building to the bitter, grisly end as the sickening stench of charred flesh fills the air. The German troops are impressed, but Bauer sneers. No doubt setting an example for their countrymen. I'll set a more interesting example. Round up all local inhabitants and mass them in the village square. Hours later, the stunned populace hear a grim ultimatum. I know that there are many partisan spies and sympathizers among you. I order you to reveal them here and now. If you refuse, you will be marched to the gallows where every 5th person will be. His voice trails off as his eyes fall on a stunning redhead in the front row with an insolent smile. You, woman, step forward. Who are you? Why do you smile? I am called Magda Donescu, and I did not know that I was smiling at the colonel. You think that every Romanian is his enemy. Will I be the first to hang from the gallows? No, actually, I am in need of a servant, he stammers. Come with me. I will show you your duties. His men are shocked. Herr Colonel, what about the partisan search? Oh, it can wait. Let the villagers go. The men watched the 2 walk off, amazed. It was uncanny. Something had come over him the moment his eyes were set on that woman. A strange liaison began that was hard to conceal. An officer of the Third Reich following a peasant girl around like a puppy. He couldn't stand being without her. It was rumored that each night she made off with one of his possessions as a souvenir. A hat, his boots, a belt. But any inquiry brought an explosion of temper from the colonel. Then, the night came where she didn't come to visit him. Worry turns to frenzy. That little devil! She thinks to make me jealous so she can wind me around her little... A flash of heat suddenly washes over him. Magda, is this the hold she has over me? He leaves his quarters under the full moon and heads into town. The townspeople chuckle knowingly as they direct him to her home. The heat builds, becoming unbearable as he walks down the street. Hearing an odd humming from inside, he kicks the door open and is shocked at what he sees. Magda hums, wearing a revealing maroon gown, standing with her limbs splayed wide, red head back with a flaming torch in each hand. A mannequin, wearing one of Bauer's uniforms, is before her. Gott in Himmel! Was ist los? Magda smiles when she sees him. Yes, my beautiful colonel. Now you know why I needed your possessions. One of the partisans you burned to death was my father. He was a warlock, and I, his spawn, am a witch. She starts to dance around with the torches. From the moment he perished, I vowed that his killer would die. Not an ordinary death, but a death like my father's. A death slow and torturous. Bauer screams as the mannequin bursts into flame, and his own body starts to burn and melt. Magda! Not this fire! Not this pain! Magda! Please! Bauer collapses to the floor and dies, a smoldering ruin, and Magda leaves it behind. The score is settled, my colonel. At the end.
Bill Joy, History Minute. Romania with a U, or OU, was the preferred English spelling of the country until the mid to late 70s and is used in this story. It's now spelled with an O. Something that gets glazed over a lot in studies about World War II is the fact that the Axis powers weren't just Germany, Italy, and Japan. Hungary, Slovakia, Bulgaria, the independent state of Croatia, and Romania participated in various European Axis military operations, usually in the Soviet Union, with their national armed forces, while a sixth, Yugoslavia, saw its tripartite signatory government overthrown earlier in a coup merely days after it signed the pact, and the membership was reversed. Hitler, of course, then invaded. The initial Soviet counterattack to lift the siege of Stalingrad landed squarely on the ill-equipped Romanian troops, who took such heavy losses they were largely ineffective for the rest of the war. Thailand was the biggest Asian ally of the Japanese. There were lots of puppet states and nations that signed bilateral agreements with the Axis as well, like Vichy France and Finland. All the European nations named before declared war on the U.S. under pressure by Germany in December of 1941. But the U.S. didn't reciprocate until June of 1942. Guess we didn't take him seriously. As far as this story is concerned, on August 23rd, 1944, with the vengeful Soviet army closing in on their borders, the Romanians switched sides and fought alongside the Russians to the end of the war. So, when does this story take place? Before or after that date? Comments and commendations. Uh-oh, a story that takes place in Romania. Wonder if anything spooky is going to happen. Part of me wants to play with the whole, he was thinking with the wrong head, and this is what happens joke. But he was under a spell, so I won't. Page 2, panel 1 is a great aftermath scene of the Germans sifting through the smoking rubble with bodies mixed in. Page 4, panel 7 of the, "Aw, thank you" look on Magda's face when Bauer gives her his hat. Sidebar, panel 2. Is that a polar bear pelt on the floor? Artistic choice. Page 5, panel 6. The Colonel walking through moonlit streets looking for Magda. Page 6, panel 5. You've heard of sword and sorcery? How about sex and sorcery? That has to be one of the spiciest panels in the history of the show. Add furniture and shadow, moonlight through the open door that Bauer is leaning against, the rigid dummy, high marks. And I think Rubini got away with one on page 7, panel 5, as Bauer falls to his knees and his clothes burn away. That's an ass, folks. Right above the boots. What else could it possibly be? The smoking ruin panel that concludes the story is good too. I accidentally skipped a page while doing the synopsis and didn't miss it. You know, it's the one where she starts collecting the Colonel's clothes. So I guess that means the story is a page too long. Still, I think I have to put this one down as an overall win.
All right, now, as for my opinions on this, I give 300 bonus points right away for the firefighter host at the start of the story. It's just great. And it was cool to see Ruben rock some pure romance comic skills throughout the entirety of page 4. I really wish we'd had a chance. And maybe he did do some romance comic stuff, but he's got the chops and they're on display right there. Page 6 is also a tour de force of storytelling, with changes in perspective and focus carrying the reader on a smooth ride all the way down to that stunning, smoldering splash panel at the end. The firefighting phantom did not reappear in the final panel of the story, but I'll let it slide. This was a very cool opening tale with an always enjoyable theme of a sadistic Nazi getting his just desserts. A dish a la flambe, even. Very nice start to the issue.
I got the next one. The Toy Battle. 3 pages. Script by George Kashdan. Art by Last Timer Howard Chaykin. Colonel Henri Moreau is an old man living in a French old soldier's home. He's completely engrossed with moving toy soldiers across a diorama of a battlefield. An attendant speaks to him. "Colonel Moreau, it is time to come to breakfast." "Little fool, can you not see that I am the midst of battle?" The colonel grabs one of the toy soldiers and stares at it. "I had them outnumbered. My strategy was foolproof. How did those Prussian dogs defeat me?" The attendant sighs and speaks to a nearby nun. "Ma foi, he speaks as if those toy soldiers were alive." "Oui, and so it has been ever since he arrived here, long before my time. Over and over he relives that battle, trying to change the outcome. I think it is all that keeps the poor man alive." It was on this day, however, that Colonel Moreau's fortunes were about to change. He glares at the toy soldier that represents his trusted aide. "Sacre bleu! You, Leclerc! It seems the only possible answer. Yet, how can I be sure?" Suddenly, everything starts spinning and goes black. Then, shockingly, Moreau is a young man on that same 1871 battlefield near Lorraine, France. It's night, and he's stunned to see Leclerc sneaking across a field towards Prussian lines. He cries. Leclerc spins. Colonel Moreau, I was so sure I had left you sleeping. He pulls his pistol, but Moreau is faster, killing Leclerc with a single shot. Digging through the dead man's pockets, Moreau makes a stunning discovery. Nom du nom, the order for tomorrow's battle. With this in their possession, the Prussians could have routed us. Leclerc was a traitor. And so, at dawn, a crisp command rang out, and the charge was sounded. When the battle was over, the Prussians were fleeing, a far happier outcome for Colonel Henri Moreau. He was found slumped over his diorama with a peaceful look on his face, clutching a toy soldier with a tiny bullet hole through it. The end. Killjoy, History Minute. The Franco-Prussian War, often referred to in France as the War of 1870, was a conflict between the Second French Empire and the North German Confederation led by the Kingdom of Prussia, lasting from 19 July 1870 to 28 January 1871. The conflict was caused primarily by France's determination to reassert its dominant position in continental Europe, which appeared in question following the decisive Prussian victory over Austria in 1866. According to some historians, Prussian Chancellor Otto von Bismarck deliberately provoked the French in declaring war on Prussia in order to induce 4 independent southern German states to join the North German Confederation. France mobilized its army on 15 July 1870, leading the North German Confederation to respond with its own mobilization later that day. On 16 July, the French Parliament voted to declare war on Prussia, and France invaded German territory on 2 August. The German coalition mobilized its troops much more effectively than the French and invaded northeastern France on 4 August. German forces were superior in numbers, training, and leadership and made more effective use of modern technology, particularly railways and artillery. A series of hard-fought Prussian and German victories in eastern France, culminating in the Siege of Metz and the Battle of Sedan, resulted in the capture of the French Emperor Napoleon III and the decisive defeat of the army of the Second Empire. A government of national defense was formed in Paris on 4 September and continued the war for another 5 months. German forces fought and defeated new French armies in northern France, then besieged Paris for over 4 months before it fell on 28 January 1871, effectively ending the war. In the final days of the war, with German victory all but assured, the German states proclaimed their union as the German Empire under the Prussian King Wilhelm I and Chancellor Bismarck. With the notable exceptions of Austria and German Switzerland, the vast majority of German speakers were united under a nation state for the first time. Following an armistice with France, the Treaty of Frankfurt was signed on 10 May 1871, giving Germany billions of francs in war indemnity, as well as most of Alsace and parts of Lorraine, which became the imperial territory of Alsace-Lorraine. This may explain one of the reasons why the French were so draconian towards the Germans after World War I. France and Germany fought 3 wars in 80 years, each one worse than the one before it. The French reclaimed Alsace-Lorraine after World War I. I've been to that region of France and recall seeing a statue of 2 French women consoling each other with the dates 1871 to 1918 on the base at Place Maginot in Nancy. So it looks like the French started a fight and then got their heads royally handed to them. I wonder what battle this story represents, since the French won no battles of any significance during the war.
All right. Well, following that really cool Killjoy and History Minute section there, I'm going to kick off CNC on a bit of a sour note, as I often do, and say this one, again, the story, not Rich's History Minute, was pure garbage. Sorry. I'm not even going to waste too many more words on this one. Everything about it is some of the lowest level of effort, execution, and entertainment that we've seen exhibited in this series to date. The story's been done, which is normally more than okay with me, but it's been done so much better that having this mediocre script dragged down by Chaikin's simply awful eyesore level efforts at artwork brings the whole affair down into the negatives category for me. Better to remove these pages entirely and replace them with nothing. Chaikin's layouts and page designs aren't even interesting here, And that is usually his saving grace, even this early on in his career. I'm on record saying that I think he has a real talent for that, even at this stage. But in this story, nothing shows up to do the job. Yuck.
Bye, Howie. Don't let the door hit you in the ass on the way out. Looks like we got a Siskel and Ebert point counterpoint on this one, apparently. Our deathly narrator wearing the pickle haube in panel 1 sucks, but the death glare of Moreau staring at the toy soldier of his aide on the first panel of page 2 is solid, as is the following pass out son panel in the first panel on page 3, the discovery of Leclerc's treason. I think Hashtag gives us a solid 3-pager here, probably taking place around World War I, even if it is a bit tropish. The old man can't die until he rights the wrong inflicted against him. This obviously reminds me of the last toy soldier story we saw from Weird War Tales 47. I actually like this one better. You know, at the end of the day, though, I think there's more good here than bad, especially for another war most people in the U.S. know nothing about. The History Minute does a lot of the lifting for this one, too. Okay, Howie, just sail off into the sunset with a dub, even if Cashdan deserves a lot more of the credit than you do.
See, yeah, I had to read this story without your history minute, so I had nothing helping me lift this thing up.
Moving on. AP of Weird War Tales isn't getting any letters again. So Bob Razakis is continuing his book review segment. 2 books. SSGB by Len Dayton. In the Alternative World, it is November 1941, 9 months after a successful German invasion of Britain. Winston Churchill has been executed, and King George VI is a prisoner who has not been seen in public for some time. His queen, Elizabeth, and their daughters, Elizabeth and Margaret, have escaped. A British government in exile, led by Rear Admiral Connolly, exists but is not recognized by the United States. Douglas Archer, a Scotland Yard murder squad detective superintendent with a stellar reputation, is working under a German superior from the Schutzstaffel SS security service. Though his wife was killed by a German bombing raid in the Blitz, Archer avoids non-involvement in political crimes and views resistance to the Nazis as futile. A routine murder investigation becomes political when it appears to have been perpetuated by agents of the British resistance. An aggressive SS officer arrives and takes control of the investigation, which is of interest to the SS because the victim may have possessed data from the German army's program to build an atomic bomb. Archer also learns that his secretary and lover, Sylvia Manning, is a member of the British resistance, and he is reluctantly drawn into a conspiracy against the Germans. This was turned into a 5-part drama on the BBC in 2017. The other is The Gemini Contenders by Robert Ludlum. Set against the backdrop of World War II, the story begins in December 1939 with a clandestine mission involving a secretive brotherhood of monks known as the Order of Zenope. They are tasked with transporting a mysterious vault from Salonkia, Greece, to a hidden location in the Italian Alps. This vault contains ancient documents that, if revealed, could potentially shatter the foundations of Christianity. As the narrative unfolds, the wealthy Fontini Christi family, led by Savarone Fontini Christi, becomes embroiled in the conflict. Savarone, who opposes the fascist regime of Benito Mussolini, is entrusted with the vault's protection. However, his family's safety is compromised when Cardinal Donati, a powerful figure in the Catholic Church, believes that Savarone has shared the vault secrets with his son, Vittorio. This leads to a brutal massacre of the Fontini Christi family, leaving Vittorio as the sole survivor, driven by vengeance and a quest for truth. I haven't read either of them, but have to admit, SSGB does interest me.
Yeah, I actually wrote down both titles just now because you said one of them was turned into a 5-part drama on the BBC. I'm wondering if I can find that somewhere because Gail might want to watch that. And the second book, the whole plot sounds interesting to me. So, the Gemini Contenders sounds really cool to me. And I think if I could find SSGB somewhere, it's not too old, it's only 2017. I have like BritBox and Acorn and Masterpiece Theater, subscribed to all that stuff. So I got to be able to find that somewhere. Anywho, we'll keep you posted if I do find it or not. No, we won't. The next story in our issue brings the Weird War Tales fiction to a close with a story entitled An Outbreak of Peace. It's a 6-pager, scripted by, hey, guess who? George Cashdan. Pencils by first-timer Don Newton. Inks by only-timer Dave Hunt. And it goes a little something like this. After a skirmish in the South Pacific, a wounded cruiser totters home, while below the surface, a Frogman crew struggles to repair her damaged steering assembly. But high above, a call goes out from a Japanese spotter plane, and within minutes, the cruiser is under heavy air attack. The sea erupts into a watery inferno. One figure hurls limply through the deep. Helpless, he is snatched by a rolling vortex that spins him downward, far down. And when consciousness finally returns, the dazed frogman is bewildered to find himself wearing only a towel, lying in bed with two men and an attractive woman staring at him. And we've all been there. What? Who? Relax, friend, one of the men says. You are safe and well. What? Where am I? The last thing I remember was an explosion and... You needn't explain. We all know about the continual barbarism which goes on high above. The woman then joins the conversation. It is why our civilization centuries ago fled to the ocean floor. The frogman is further stunned. The ocean floor? You mean there really is an Atlantis? Many names and legends have been attached to us, though few outsiders, like yourself, have actually seen us. The first man continues. Will I ever be able to leave? The frogman asks, as the woman helps him to his feet. Of course, in our land we have no hold over people against their will, but first you must allow Rihanna to nurse you back to health. That's not the Rihanna you're thinking of, people. It's Reana. All right? It's not that ahead of its time here. Rihanna leans against him and runs her hand over the American's muscles. Then you may depart, if you still wish to. In the days that follow, Rihanna shows Vance around. This machinery supplies our oxygen, which is extracted from the seawater. Special lights provide the energy to produce crops. She takes him to a private spot where the sea swirls overhead against the glass dome. Doesn't our sky bring you a feeling of peace? Someone else, brings me a greater feeling of peace, Rihanna. She wraps her arms around him as he kisses her, and is surprised when he suddenly breaks the kiss. Vance, what's wrong? Nothing. And everything. Let's go, Rihanna, before I make a big mistake. I can't stay here with you. Shortly, Vance stands before a council of elders as Rihanna quietly weeps behind him. That's right. I feel fine and I want to leave. My home is above. Very well. It is your choice to make. Soon, Vance is dressed in his gear and standing on an airlock that will release him to the sea. Remember, you must climb gradually to adjust to the changing pressure. Odd thing to have to tell a guy in a frog suit, but okay. Rihanna starts crying as Vance is sealed in. I so wanted him to stay. Patience, child. You know that no visitor has ever left us forever. Vance's thoughts fill his head as he strikes for the surface. You really got me good, Rihanna, baby. But it's no good. Sooner or later, I'd grow restless. I mean, it must get boring in a world where people never argue, let alone fight, where disputes are settled peacefully, where a massive explosion sends Vance spinning through the water. A submarine was being depth charged. Vance watches from a distance as the sub is repeatedly rocked by blasts. Like I was saying, Rihanna, honey, who wants to live in a peaceful world forever? Me. Vance turns around and swims back. It was somewhere around here that I spotted that swirl on my way up. Gotta find it before my air runs out. The vortex catches him and spins him back down to the underwater city. Death swims by in a wetsuit and says,
Let us hope that not too many more humans discover Atlantis, or whatever this place is called. A world like that would surely put me out of business.
Joy. Page 1, panel 2. Frogmen are trying to repair the steering assembly of a cruiser that's underway. Good luck getting anything done as you hang on against the current. Oh, by the way, it looks like they're working on a prop, not a rudder.
All right, CNC on this one, including the fact, I don't know if it comes up in my written CNC, but I was completely confused because the way that story ended wasn't the way I thought it ended. I thought Vance went ahead and went back to back to the real world, as it were. But apparently I'm supposed to understand that he took that vortex back down to the peaceful bubble city, So I don't know if that changes my opinion much, but here we go. And that opinion is that this story is actually in a dead race for last place with me, as it actually makes me kind of mad. It all gets off to such a great start. We got double host duty. Great storytelling there on that first page, all leading to that excellent and explosive splash panel. Heck, even all of page 2 is very effectively disruptive and odd feeling, getting across the otherworldly tone of what's happening to our man Vance. However, it all goes increasingly downhill from there for me. Perhaps the clearest warning sign of advancing decay is whatever the hell is going on with Vance's midsection in panel 5 of page 3. It looks like a hairy butt crack was copied and pasted over his abs. Did Newton catch a glimpse of the gratuitous glutes from our opener and decide to sneak another pair of cheeks into the affair? Was that some kind of contest? On page 5, panel 2, we get some romance comic shenanigans with Vance saying, "Patience, child," to a grown woman, along with the whole theme of Vance just leaving when he gets bored after having gotten what he wanted out of Rihanna. Because, again, I thought you're to understand they spent the night together, and the next day he was like, "Well, now, on second thought, I gotta go." That's what I thought the time compression was going on. I thought he actually got, a little sugar, to put it in Bruce Campbell terms, which is what I kind of started reading Vance as in my head. I could see Bruce Campbell playing this guy. So all the goodwill of those first 2 pages was just squandered completely by the end, and probably by some of my confusion. But hey, that I'm also going to blame the story for that. At least the explosions around the sub and the return of the scuba suited host all on the final page, that all looked really cool. But and this one was just a mess for me.
3 for 3 for cash in this issue. Then another story that would fit in our Valentine's Day episode. Holy Sex Sells, Batman. We have muscular crew cut Advance, who wasn't even named until halfway through the story. That's one of Max's big pet peeves. See last episode. Laying practically naked in bed with Rihanna sitting in bed with him in a revealing outfit. Page 2, panel 5. She can't keep her hands off him. Putting her hand on his shoulder, helping him to his feet, leaning against his chest. Last 2 panels on page 3. And what the hell is he wearing on page 4, panel 5? An orange V-neck shirt with short sleeves and purple pants with the cuffs rolled up? I guess the 70s got to Atlantis about 30 years before they got here. Ick. And that kiss on panel 3 looks awkward as hell. I like the 2 L-shaped panels, 5 and 6 on page 5, that fit together like a jigsaw puzzle of the depth charge attack. And the first panel-breaking scene on page 6 of the sub wreathed in boiling orange water from the blasts. Our deathly diver in the last panel doesn't want for much either. The timeless tale of returning to paradise when you realize home sucks. And oh, by the way, there, Vance. Let's just say you get to the surface. Then what? Even if that cruiser didn't sink, it's still long gone, and they're not looking for you. You're all alone in the middle of the Pacific without so much as a life jacket, let alone a raft. You did not think that through. Final verdict: I don't like the story. Art's not much better. Pass.
Yeah, I'm going to have to give this one a reread. At least the new interpretation, the better interpretation, and probably the correct one of the ending improves it a bit for me and makes him even more Bruce Campbell-like, where he's like, you know what, on second thought, right back down to Atlantis I go. That works a little better for me, but it doesn't save it entirely. And we got no Hembeck here, but as Rich pointed out in the script here, the answer man himself, Bob Rozakis, has a DC word search puzzle that he will include in the album for you. 22 DC characters to look for, up, down, or sideways. See how many you can find. Check the album. And then, having gotten that out of the way, Rich is going to lead us off with our spotlighted ads for this episode and issue.
Yeah, this sucked. I flipped through the book a few times before resigning myself to the old comic standby grit. It's a half-page ad with a drawing of a depressed-looking kid with his head in his hand. Remember how many times you felt left out because you were broke? Places the gang was going and you weren't included? They all had money for movies, games, hamburgers, and soft drinks. All of them except you. Well, you'll never be left out again. Now you can make $5, $10, or more week after week. Introduce Grit to friends, relatives, neighbors, and others. America's greatest family newspaper since 1882. Grit will help you start your own business. You can be among the more than 30,000 others who earn free prizes and make up to 5, 10, or more every week by introducing Grit to their family, friends, and neighbors. Grit will help you get started in a profitable business of your own by sending you papers, all of the supplies you'll need, and suggestions on how and where to begin. Grit will assist you in every way to make this a happy, successful, and profitable venture. Hurry, sign up now. It's got the coupon and blah, blah, blah. The one they ask for you how old you are, what your birthday is, if you're a boy or a girl, the whole rigmarole. This ad is timeless. We've all seen it for years. But what is it? Grit is a magazine, formerly a weekly newspaper, popular in the rural U.S. during much of the 20th century. In the early 1930s, it targeted small town and rural families with 14 pages plus a fiction supplement. 83% of its circulation was in towns of fewer than 10,000 inhabitants. The publication was founded in 1882 as the Saturday edition of the Williamsport, Pennsylvania Daily Sun and Banner. In 1885, the name was purchased for $1,000, about $34,000 today, by 25-year-old German immigrant Dietrich Lamadi, who established a circulation of 4,000 during his first year. Grit displayed news and features aimed at rural America and climbed to a weekly circulation of 100,000 by 1900, following an editorial policy outlined by Lamadi during a banquet for Grit's employees. Always keep Grit from being pessimistic. Avoid printing those things which distort the minds of readers or make them feel at odds with the world. Avoid showing the wrong side of things or making people feel discontented. Do nothing that will encourage fear, worry, or temptation. Whenever possible, suggest peace and goodwill towards men. Give our readers courage and strength for their daily tasks. Put happy thoughts, cheer, and contentment into their hearts. While introducing such innovations as national newsboy delivery and direct mail, Lamadi expanded his content to combine news, human interest articles, comic strips, sometimes filling 10 pages, puzzles and serials and fiction supplements, Grit story section. Circulation reached 300,000 in 1916. By the time of its 50th anniversary in 1932, 400,000 people bought the newspaper each week, increasing to 500,000 by 1934 in all 48 states. Grit went to tabloid format in 1944. During the first 3 quarters of the 20th century, Grit was sold across the country by children and teenagers, many recruited by ads in comic books from the 1940s to the 1970s. Approximately 30,000 children collected dimes from more than 700,000 American small-town homes during the 1950s, and the publication still carried the subtitle, America's Greatest Family Newspaper. A comical ad in Richie Rich comic books aimed to recruit more salesmen, suggesting that Richie's father, Richard Rich, got his start as a businessman selling Grit. Grit was a pioneer in the introduction of offset printing. It was one of the first newspapers in the U.S. to run color photographs, with the first full-color picture of the American flag appearing on the front page in June 1963. At its peak in 1969, Grit had a weekly circulation of 1.5 million copies. After reaching its circulation peak, Grit began to succumb to newspaper publishing and printing changes, including a steep rise in the cost of newsprint materials and postal increases. By 1981, Grit had reached its nadir in losses. An account in the New York Times by William Robbins noted that when the number of youths who were willing to spend their afternoons selling declined, Grit started a circulation slide. Lamadi family owned Grit for nearly 100 years, but in 1981, Advo System Inc. of Hartford, Connecticut purchased the paper. In 1983, Grit was purchased by Stauffer Communications Inc. of Topeka, Kansas, which already owned Capper's Weekly, a national tabloid also marketed to rural areas and small towns, albeit mostly in the Great Plains and Midwestern states. In 1992, Grit left Williamsport after 111 years and moved its office to Topeka. It sold a couple other times since then. Beginning with the September 2006 issue, Grit converted to an all-glossy, perfect-bound magazine format and a bi-monthly schedule. The revamped editorial policy encompasses more of a complementary rural emphasis on content rather than the nostalgic themes of the previous decade. With a print run of 150,000 and Time Warner as the national newsstand distributor, Grit was displayed and sold at general newsstand outlets, bookstores, and specialty farm feed and supply stores, including Tractor Supply Company. I had no idea this thing still existed, and any format. So, okay, this ad ended up being way cooler than I originally thought.
Again, kudos to your research on the grit ad. You know, we've all seen this ad a million times, but like I, until right now, never believed grit truly existed, had never seen a copy in my life, never heard of anyone selling it anywhere. I mean, yeah, I grew up in the 70s, so it was a bit late in grit's history, but you'd think with a 1.5 million number circulation at one point in its history, you'd see copies of this at a garage sale or something. You know, but I've never seen a physical copy of Grit in my life. I thought it was a complete scam. Look, I really didn't believe it was real until right now. The fact that it's like,
Or
yeah,
something, worst case scenario, something that went out of business in 1983 or something.
the whole time you're reading through this, my mouth just dropped a little more open with every new fact. I was like, what? So, you know, Rich's research on the Grit ad, possibly more exciting than anything else in the comic book, people. Because for my ad, I took the easy way out here because as Rich said, the ads in this issue were thin. Very thin on the ground for exciting ad content, unless you feel like putting actual effort in like Rich does to research stuff. So I picked something that could possibly be the advertising appearance of the Jonah Hex collection that my internet buddy and author Chuck Miller was talking about in a past episode in his question to the answer man. Or maybe not. Go back and check. And hey, if you can killjoy me on that, you're one step closer to a Samstar. So that ad that I picked out is a full pager and it says, big deal up top in bold letters. And it says 100 pages each. And there's a hand reaching in from off panel holding two DC Blue Ribbon Digest. One is the Super Friends, and one is a Jonah Hex Western Tales 100-page digest, which I think, again, my buddy Chuck Miller was asking the answer man about a few issues ago. So on the bottom, it has the DC Blue Ribbon Digest logo, which I still love to this day. I read so many of these things. It was one of the main ways I got a hold of older DC comic stories back in the day. They're too small for me to read now. I've tried. I bought a few of these from the Outer Limits a few years ago and was all excited and got them home, and I'm like, I can't read these. It's too small and smudgy. My eyes are old. It says, when you buy Blue Ribbon Digest comics, you get the best. And I tend to guarantee these were fun. Yeah, that's my ad for the issue. But I'm still sitting here a little stunned by all that grit information, folks. So you have to forgive me, all right? Given my goggled state of being here, I'm going to move us along to before I forget them and check to see if Rich or I have got any last words. And I do, turns out. Thank goodness I wrote them down. It says here in the script, even though it was the inspiration for the sub-mediocre cover, the opening story was actually quite enjoyable, which, in my estimation, puts it countless leagues above the preceding pair of paltry offerings. This was not my favorite issue by any stretch, unfortunately. Let's sigh.
Juicing, the most well-traveled script in show history. Yeah, one went from New York to California and Hawaii and back, but that was one trip. This one went from New York to Fort Evans, Massachusetts, to New York, to Siesta Key, Florida, to New York, to Eastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey, to New York. I was doing writing in all of these locations. This isn't like I was just carrying the comic book around. It's like, oh, if I get some time. No, I did something in all of these freaking locations for the script for this one. Dedication. Meh cover. This one was kind of all over the place. The meh cover, great intro page, two good stories, a meh one, a meh ad that got a lot better the more research I did. I suppose I'll keep it. Howie Chaykin heads for greener pastures. And ironically, I think he gets the issue win with the shortest story in the book.
Yeah, as far as that dedication, man, if I have to move to a different room to do this stuff, it ain't gonna happen. Rich carries the script to like 7 different locations by all modern means of transportation and still gets it done, folks. If Gail tells me I gotta move across the hallway into the other room, I'm done for the night. It's over. All right, folks. So there you go. That's it. You made it. You made it with us through the entire issue and everything we wanted to talk about within it. You've reached the point of the show we like to call the scuttlebutt. And that's where I remind you we have the Weird Warriors podcast Facebook page. It's great. Rich runs it. There's a lot of people that hang out there and actually converse with each other. Go take a look at it. And while you're on the Facebook page, you may want to send a message via Facebook Messenger, especially if you've purchased some merchandise at redbubble.com that has our amazing logo on it. That logo, by the way, drawn and designed by Bill Walko. That's Walko. And if you send a picture of that merch that you've purchased to the Facebook page, you could get a Sam Star. That's only one of the ways to get a Sam Star, though. But I'm not going to really belabor the other one because it's too easy. And Rich will be out of Sam Stars in a week. So we also have a YouTube page, which I would promise you, but let's not kid ourselves, which I need, I will say, to upload the rest of our videos to. The YouTube page is called, guess what? The Weird Warriors Podcast YouTube page. What you see when you get there is all of our episodes with a picture of the comic, most of the time. Sometimes a picture of something else, like Sam Glanzman's home studio, serving as the image for the episode, and the audio there. So if you want to listen to a podcast on YouTube, if that's just the way you do it, we're there for you. We got like 90 something videos up on that page. So let me know you're watching some. I can see, I can count. I think I can count at least. I can count to 10, and only a few of the videos have gone beyond that many views. All right. So that's it for my part of the scuttlebutt. I'm going to turn you over to the other guy.
Well, Max, with the summertime slowdown and everything, we're only dropping one episode a month, so you'll have even less excuses than usual, not to park your butt for the computer monitor on a rainy day or something and just upload the rest of them, for God's sake.
Hang on, let me check my shame immunity. Yep, still at 100%.
You can't hurt me, Rich. You've been trying for decades, hasn't happened yet. Just a little something for the fans here. When we don't have the album for a fan-voted special mission to pin on the FB page, we'll have the link to our Redbubble page. So we're going to make it easy for you people. Be the envy of all your friends at whatever con you go to this summer. Like Max said, buy something, get something. It's easy, people. Come on. So what's left? There's only one thing left. The teaser for the next episode. 73 Zahanoj. Wait, I got that backwards. Wait a minute. Jonah Hex 37. That's better. Happy birthday, buddy. Slightly belated. Time for that special mission I promised you. I love you too. Is our scarred bounty hunter responsible for the South losing the Civil War? Be here next time for Stonewall.
You dirty bastard. I'm sitting here reading the teaser text for Weird War Tales 83, and I'm getting ready to say something about it. And then boom, like an idiot, I didn't see the July surprise coming. Like a particular idiot.
Well, to be fair, this one drops in August, but
yeah, but it's still basically the around birthday surprise. Whatever, man. Like, oh, Jonah Hex. All right, well, Jonah Hex number one. I got to write that crap down because you didn't.
Well, I will move the information to the script. And you'll notice that I hadn't sent you the script for the next episode yet.
Yeah.
That was a tell. So I will send that to you next. But yes,
that would be a tell if I was someone who noticed things.
Yeah, and obviously he does not. 37. All
right, because I do have my DC Universe subscription still. So I might very well have that issue available to read online if they've uploaded it. They're not so great with their Western and war comic stuff, especially not their war comic stuff, DC. So all that aside, I'm going to recover from my shock here and move us along. Along to what? Well, to the end of the show. What show? Well, the show that Rich and I host. And who are Rich and I? Well, hey, we're the Weird Warriors. We're the Battling Bros. We are, as I mentioned, the co-hosts of a podcast. It's called the Weird Warriors Podcast. And that specifically is a podcast on which we promise to make war.